Good to get off the board, isn't it? Good to get the win, get to 1-1.
I am happy, Phil. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but that performance really does bring a smile to my face.
That performance, that was absolutely, it was beautiful. That was perfect football. That was Saints football.
Top 3 at the moment on percentage, which is amazing. It's good vibes all around.
I am, when I've got the Pinot out, you know that I'm feeling pretty good. I think we should all be pretty happy with that. We should all be pretty proud of the boys tonight. Final score was Melbourne 14-9-93 to St Kilda 8-7-55. So in the end it was a 38-point loss at the G today.
That was bloody marvellous. That was so fucking amazing.
Kyle, yep. Let's go, mate. We're up and about. A bit longer than usual. A lot of Sainers were up and about and keen for a chat. So, as always, I kindly obliged.
I'd have to say pretty routine, pretty comfortable. A couple of loud Sainers going around the car park. Right now we sit in 4th position and we'll stay there if Collingwood can get the job done against the Blues, which at the moment it looks like they're doing.
Hey Sainers, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel. Welcome to the 2022 mid-season review. Now, we've got the bye this weekend. No footy this weekend, Sainers, so I thought, why not discuss the year so far? Season 2022 for the Sainers so far, and this is going to be a very different video to the video that I filmed a year ago. I actually went back and watched it. I was like, let's look at my mid-season review video from last year when we were, 14th on the ladder and 4 wins and 8 losses, or 4 wins and 7 losses, and struggling big time. And wasn't a fun watch, seeing all the reactions, the compilation at the start of the video, which you would have seen at the start of this video, but it was a bit more positive, I would have thought. So that kind of summarizes the year so far. In a nutshell for me, and probably for a lot of you guys watching this video and been watching the players go out every week and doing what they do, and to find ourselves 8 wins out of the first 11 weeks in 4th position on the AFL ladder as it stands, to be talked up as a premiership contender and to be talked up as a real top 4 hopeful at the moment is amazing. And it feels weird. It feels really weird because being a Saints fan, you kind of always have this sickening feeling in your stomach that, good times never last long enough, and at some point the wheels will fall off. But our boys, to their credit, in the first 11 weeks have really, really impressed me, and hopefully really impressed everyone else at home watching, because they've played some hard teams, they've travelled all over, and they've surprised so many of us. Notably me. There's been so many games this year where I've been very, very worried going into it, whether it was round 2 against Fremantle away from home off the back of a very disappointing loss to Collingwood, or it's facing, teams that have been up and about for years and years in Richmond and Geelong, and to be able to get results in those games. Some of the highlights of my year so far, and we'll talk about those. But as a whole, this team is gone further already than I could have imagined. We'll get into the good and the bad and what we hope for the rest of the year. So in terms of the good, I've got my notes. I've done my research, Sainers. The good, we have to start with, and maybe you guys won't think that this is where I'm going straight away, but number 1 on the list for me when I think of the good to come from this year so far, the defense. Corey and Wright has completely reshaped our defense. We are, I think, the 3rd or 4th best ranked team defensively at the moment, and we've been that way for a lot of the year. I think the only time we've conceded over 100 points so far is in round 1 against Collingwood. Since then, we've averaged, I think, 69 points against per game, which is brilliant. And that is Dougal Howard with his 1%ers every week. That is Cal Wilkie being one of the most in-form second defenders in the competition. And right now would be definitely in discussions for being in the back six of the All-Australian team. And speaking of All-Australians in the back six of the All-Australian team, Jack Sinclair, probably leading our best and fairest at the moment, has been in outrageous form. From round 1 to round 11, he has not put a foot wrong. His form has just blossomed. He had to go into the midfield with a lot of our midfielders being down and injured, and he's done a great job there, but he's also very, very powerful off half-back. Couple that with Brad Hill, who's found amazing form in the last couple of weeks. We've got, according to David King, the best half-back flank partnership in the competition. So our back line is humming along. We've got Ben Patton back playing some pretty solid football. He can get better. Jimmy Webster as well. And Josh Battle, who was put into that centre half-back position in the off-season, had to train it up. We knew that he would be able to deliver, and he is 100% delivered. In his 11 games this year, he's probably had 1 or 2 down games, but overall has been very, very good, a very solid contributor in the back six, and has made that position his own, which is exactly what we wanted. So the back six, thanks to Corey Enright, is completely reshaped. And there's been a lot of games this year where we've been down in the midfield and up forward, and we've needed the defence to hold firm until we have that opportunity to turn games and turn that momentum back in our favour. And we've seen that this year against Richmond, against Geelong, against Fremantle, I think against Gold Coast in patches. There's been a lot of games, Adelaide notably. We've been down, we've looked like we've not had a chance. Our defence has held strong, and then with 15, 20-minute bursts, and midfield get on top, and then our forwards inevitably kick straight, and we kick a winning score very quickly. So all of those games where we've come from behind, which is a lot of them, and we've hit the front and gone on with it, there's going to be 30, 40 minutes of very, very strong defensive structure in those games. If you go back and watch the replay, and you'll be like, the defense won us that game. It looks good, on the camera when you watch it, and we're kicking goals from everywhere, but there's patches in those games where the defence, in terms of Cal, Wilkie, Dukes and Battle, are all standing up and a lot of the time are undersized and getting the job done. So awesome effort there from the defence. That's, to me, the biggest improvement so far in our year. Now the kids, that's another one. We've got Mitch Owens, we've got Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera, we've got Marcus Windhager, Jack Bytel, to a lesser extent playing some very good football there. Our kids have just blossomed. In terms of top 8 teams and blood in kids, we've been right up there. And they've all, this is the most important thing, but they've all looked like they're ready for AFL football. Mitch Owens struggled in round 1, but we saw what he did in round 11. And Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera just shows every single week, the more he plays, the more confidence he gets. He's taking running bounces, he's taking players on, and he's hitting Max King with absolute bullet passes in less than 10 games of his career. So amazing effort there. And Marcus Windhager, he's been a very, very serviceable contributor. With Jack Steele being down since round 9 against Geelong doing his shoulder, he's had to step in and play a bit of a bigger role. And in that game, he stood up in the second half and was stiff not to get the Rising Star nomination. Our kids, not only are they getting games, which is also a big tick for Rats, because we're winning games with kids, but they're also playing big parts in those games that we're winning. They're not just passengers in the games and getting minutes into their legs. They're actually creating a difference for us week in, week out, which is amazing. Now, the forward line overall has actually been pretty good. There's been a couple of games where we haven't been there, but overall, we've been one of the most efficient teams going inside 50, and that's a huge credit to our forward coaches, but also to our forwards who have executed the game plan. And Max King notably has been the big one. He's made a huge stride in his career this year, and he had a 1-goal-7 game against GWS, which we still won, but it was just amazing to watch him live this year so far and to see what he's done to some very good opposition. I think he's kicked around 32 goals and second in the Coleman medal at this stage, which is great, and he's number 1 for contested marks as well. So he's going very nicely, Kingy. And then you've got Tim Membry, you've got Rowan Marshall and Paddy Ryder, who've been able to drop down there. And that's another big positive, is getting minutes into our dual ruck partnership. And we know how much better we are when they play. And then you've got Gresham going forward. Higgins, who's been very good in the first part of the year, minus, missing the last couple of weeks with concussion and COVID. Jack Billings come in for a couple of weeks. Butler as well early on, but now back at Sandy. The forward line is very, very dangerous on its day. And then you've got Sharman, who's come in the last couple of weeks, and he's kicked a goal a game every single week that he's played, which is no surprise because the guy's a very smart forward. And I mentioned Gresh just then. Players lifting. That's another big positive because Steele's gone down. We knew that going into this year, because we weren't big in the trade period, we needed players to stand up internally. We knew that we couldn't just find A-graders in the trade table. We weren't getting players like that. We just couldn't afford it. We didn't have the draft hand. We wanted to get our academy boys, and we got them done, and they've proven that they're worth already. But in terms of A-grade talent, that was going to come internally. And you look at Kel Wilkie down back. He's upgraded. He's All-Australian at the moment. Jack Sinclair, absolute A-grade. Jade Gresham coming in after his Achilles and being our 19th, apparently the 19th best AFL player at the moment, according to Matthew Lloyd. You've got Brad Crouch, who's in career best form at the moment. Zach Jones coming back and offering an outlet there. Then you've got Steele, who continued his form up until his injury. Marcus Windhager able to go through there. Our midfield bat's very, very deep at the moment. And I haven't mentioned him yet, and I knew that you guys would jump in there. Seb bloody Ross. He would be one of the most improved players in our team right now, if not the most improved. He is playing better football now than he ever was when he won his 2 best and fairests. That's a big call, I know, but that's exactly how I feel right now. And that's huge for Seb because he was one of those players pre-season that I thought, nah, he's not getting a game. Bartel's ahead of him. But he is probably one of the first picked at the moment and one of the most trusted players with the football in hand. To have a disposal efficiency by hand of over 80% and then by foot by over 65%. You know, that's amazing. He's fixed up his disposal by hand and by foot, and he's very, very efficient. He's hitting the scoreboard, and he's lowering his eyes. We don't see any more bombs from Seb. And most excitingly, he's taking players on. He's running. He's taking the game on. And it's very, very exciting because he's the last player you'd think would take the game on and use speed. But he is looking like one of our fastest players at the moment. So huge. Genuinely, Seb, amazing form. We all bloody love seeing it and hopefully continue it for the next 11 weeks. And I can't go this whole video without talking about my number one positive for the year, beating the Cats. I knew going into this year that was the one thing we needed to get done. For us to progress as a team, we needed to start beating bogey teams. And we didn't get it done against Port. We won't talk about that game. Or we will probably in the negatives. But to beat Geelong and the way we did it was huge. We were down all day. We had a huge third term, kicked 8 goals to, I think, in that term. To, I think, 2 goals 4 or something. Absolutely killed them. That was in the space of 10 minutes. And we got the job done there and won by 10 points. But for me to go to a game, beat Geelong, I feel like that's going to give the team a lot of confidence. Because when you beat the good teams, you start understanding, well, we're actually a pretty good team at the moment. And that was off the back of losing to Melbourne. And we didn't want to lose that Geelong game. You lose to Port, you lose to Melbourne. You could almost say, nah, we're losing to Geelong here. We're losing 3 in a row. The season's off the track. You know, we're gone. But we beat Geelong. We beat Adelaide in Adelaide the way we did that the 4th term surge again. We love doing that to teams. And then to beat North in a very comprehensive and professional way is huge as well. And one other thing that I didn't write down for the good, but our fitness. We are one of the fittest teams in the competition at the moment. If we're not down and out late in the 4th term, you better be worried, the opposition, because we will come hunting for you. In every game so far this year, we have been in front in the 4th term, bar 1. So I say every game but 1, we've been at some point in front in the 4th term, 10 of 11. So that is impressive to know that we are running games out and we are taking the game on and eventually overpowering teams to the point where we just run all over them. So we did that against Geelong, we did that against Richmond, we did that against Fremantle, did that all day against Hawthorn, against Gold Coast, against Adelaide, against Geelong, against North all day. It's very, very impressive. There's not been a game this year where we looked done. Even the Melbourne game we lost, but we finished the game strong in the second half. So we are one of the best, if not the best, second half team in the competition so far. Now for the bad. Let's just get straight through it. We'll just cover them very quickly. Port Adelaide loss. That kills me. I can't believe we dropped that game. We should never be selling games to Cairns ever again because of that result. That's 2 games now in the last 2 years. We've sold the home game to Cairns and we've lost. Big no-no for me. The round 1 game against Collingwood. It looks a bit less shit now because Collingwood actually look alright as a team. They've just gone to Fremantle and won, and then they beat Carlton for us. That puts us back in 4th. So thank you, Collingwood, for that. But that game, off the back of it, my reaction probably was a bit, bit exaggerated. But now when I look at them, I'm like, Collingwood's a young team. They're prone to having some pretty big losses, but also prone to having some very impressive wins. And round 1 is a very unpredictable round, and we lost that game. Off the back of that, we've learned to bounce back, and that's another positive. We'll just quickly jump back there. We lose round 1, we win 5. We lose 2 in a row, then we win the next 3. So we know how to bounce back from losses and bounce back well and get on consecutive winning runs. So that's really good. It's not win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. We get on a run, and I think it's outside of Melbourne and Brisbane, we've had the longest winning streak in the competition with that 5-game stretch, which is great. The other downside is Steele being injured. Round 9, he did his shoulder. He's out for the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's been a couple of weeks already, so it's a 6-week injury, but that obviously means a bigger opportunity for our midfield to stand up in Seb, Crouchy, Gresh, Windhager, Jonesy, all these guys to get their runs on the board and to get some form and make up for the lack of Steele, which so far since then, we've won the last 3 games without him, which is great, and that proves that our midfield is really standing up in his absence. And now for just the general stats, I've got some high rankings and I've got some low rankings. There's a lot of high rankings, so we'll go through a couple of them. We're ranked number 1 for kicks per game so far. We're ranked 4th for disposals per game. We're ranked 1 for marks per game. 2nd for clangers per game, which is great. The second least clangers, I believe. 3rd in least opponents' points per game. Obviously, our 3rd best defense. We've got low rankings. We're ranked 12th for inside 50s, but that's irrelevant because we're ranked very highly for efficiency inside 50, which is a big improvement on last year because we were just bombing it. The ball was coming out, but this year, if we go inside 50 10 times, we're scoring 6 or 7 times, which is outrageous and well above the AFL standard. And then we're ranked 13th for clearances, which is the one thing I want us to improve going into the back half of the year, is clearances, because without Steele, we saw even against North, they got the better of us in that department, but I think our defence is holding up so well that even if we concede clearance after clearance, we're not leaking goals. We're very high in rebound 50s, and that means that when the ball comes in, we're not conceding scores, we're either breaking even in the contest and getting the ball out of bounds for a throw-in and then a clearance, or we're marking the ball and getting the hands, and Jack Sinclair and Brad Hill are completely rebounding. That's another thing, is our consistency. Apart from a couple of losses, we have been crazy consistent compared to previous years. So the boys are switched on. Paddy Ryder believes top 4 is on the cards. He said that on the couch, and I love that a player's come out publicly and set that standard and said, we're going for top 4. We're not going for anything less. Top 4 or bust. So it's been a great season so far, Sainers. We are 8-3. We are 4th on the ladder with a percentage of 123.8. This time last year, we were 14th and playing absolute shit football and nowhere near top 8, let alone top 4. Whereas right now, I genuinely think behind Melbourne and Brisbane, we are probably the 3rd best team in it. Fremantle are playing very good football, but I back us on our day against Freo, and I think we've probably been more consistent than them. We lost by 1 point to Port. We should have won that game. We played Melbourne when they were flying, and we lost by 38. And then round 1, an anomaly. We didn't know what to expect against Collingwood with Craig McRae at the helm. First game for him, first game for Nick Dacos, and they surprised us. And even then, we hit the front in the 4th term in that game. Could have won it, but we didn't. Jack Hayes. Can't go through this video without talking about Jack Hayes. To get him in, to see his performances in round 1, kicking 3 goals in a best on ground performance, and to be one of the most consistent players up until his injury against GWS, which was just heartbreaking to watch. And for him to be out for the next year is just awful. But he's one of those players that I know is going to grow into a very big cult figure, and he's going to be back bigger than ever next year. And it was awesome to see the club re-sign him for 2 years, and he deserves that. And I hope his recovery is going really well. So Jack Hayes, I can't go this video without talking about him, because I feel like even though he's only played half the games, 5 or 6 games out of the 11, he had a huge influence on the team and just the vibe around the club and the competitiveness. Ruts and the coaching team, full credit to them. They've completely changed our game plan. We are very good at controlling the ball, hence why we're number 1 for marks and number 1 for kicks. And we're very smart with our entries now. We're not bombing it. Our forwards are working hard, and we're getting our bang for buck when we go inside 50 more than any other team in the comp. So that's the review, Sainers. There is more to talk about, obviously, but at the moment we just want to take it slow. We are 8-3. We've got the bye round, and I couldn't be happier with the way we're going at the moment. And no doubt you guys are very happy with the way we're going at the moment as well. We've got Brisbane coming up after the bye at the Gabba. That is a huge game. Our fixture does get difficult in the second half of the year. Obviously, we play Brisbane twice, we play Sydney twice, we play Geelong again, we've got Bulldogs, Carlton. There's a lot of difficult games there and a lot of Friday night and Saturday night games coming up. So good to see that we've been rewarded with a pretty decent fixture in the next 4 to 5 weeks thanks to our form. So we'll see how we go in the second half of the year. The first half, we did what we needed to do. We probably should have been 1 or 2 wins better off in hindsight, looking at the Port game and the Collingwood game. But you take 8 and 3 any day of the week, no complaints. We've got a player that's kicked 32 goals already in Max King. We've got one of the strongest defences in the competition. We've got a couple of players that are probably all Australians at the moment. And all of this without Hunter Clark, without Billings playing a lot of the year, without Higgins playing the last couple of weeks, without Jack Steele for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Highmore, Bytel, Geary. There's a lot of players at Sandringham that are playing really good football and can't get into the team. Jared Lynott as well, who came in and played very good early on in the season and has gone back to Sandy. So it's amazing as a club at the moment, and to see what we've done in the space of 6 months and 12 months since last year. So far, so good, Saners. Let's hope that we keep it up. It's going to be a tough next 11 weeks, but I back our boys. I've got a really good feeling about this year and about our chances of making top 4. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, Saners. Please like the video, comment your thoughts on the season so far. What's your positive? What's your negative? And one thing you want us to improve on in the second half of the year. Love to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you love my content and you're a St Kilda fan or you're not, please hit the subscribe button and join the 3,000 odd Saners that have joined the channel so far. So appreciate it, Saners. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of the season, hopefully. And I'll see you in the next Saints TV video next Monday. Saints TV Weekly. Can't wait for it. Take care and go you mighty Saners. Got a good feeling, Saners.